I'm Tom.
And I'm Tanner.
Welcome to episode 160 of Bird Squawk.
Oh, baby, the draft has come and gone. And once again, Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles nail it, ace it, put this team right back in the position that you feel confident with the roster. Obviously, there's going to be some pieces to add along the ways. But once again, like last year, like the year before, hit it out of the park from pretty much top to bottom, I would say.
Wow, what we were able to accomplish over the weekend, just another master class presented by Howie Roseman.
Without a doubt. I mean,
for all the negativity we've had for this guy, he is not going back in that closet anytime soon. Thank you, Chipper, for making this guy a stone cold killer.
I mean, he has continued. I mean, we talked about it a lot last week. The draft used to be the big question mark with him. We trusted him with the cap, with the free agents, with everything. But the draft was the big question mark. And sometimes he hit, but most of the time, they tried to be the smartest people in the room, try and go a little outside the box. And the last couple years, the last 3 years to be exact, they've taken who they need to. They've realized the SEC plays football. They realized that the people that people are saying are good are probably the best picks and are usually pretty good. So they've gotten that down now the last 3 years and not really done anything crazy. Like, they like to move around a lot usually, but you moved up one in the first round. You stayed pat. They did what they needed to do effectively without giving up capital and still gaining capital.
Yeah, like we talked about. I mean, and we don't know nothing, right? We have no clue, but we were saying for years.
Yeah.
Look at the SEC, right?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to find that unicorn out in the Pac-12, and you ended up with a jackass most of the time, since he's realized, let's take the proven commodities, he's on fire.
Yeah, I mean, we can get into the picks. I mean, but just like he said, the SEC. I mean, you look at the last 3 drafts, and you look at the teams that have gone deep in the playoffs, the college football playoff, if you watch that, if you're into college football, 21, they take Devontae, Landon Dickerson, 2 guys that were on the national championship Bama team. Last year, they take Jordan Davis. I mean, they took Juergens, but that was a good pick. And then they took Nakobe Dean, 2 guys that was on the Georgia national championship team. And then this year, pick 1, Jalen Carter, and pick 2, Nolan Smith, 2 guys that were on the national championship team. Guys that are going deep into college football, guys that are at these top programs, it's not as much of a transition for some of these guys. And I know that's crazy to say, but because there's always a transition from college to pros. But when you're playing at a program like Alabama, when you're playing at a program like Georgia, that they just won back-to-back national titles, that step you at least hope or think isn't going to be as much for these guys.
Yeah, and I think the thing that breeds in those college teams as well is competition, right? And Nick's big in competition, right? So I think that just takes it to the next level. And we talked about this for weeks leading up. I will say I was on the Bijan train, but we did talk that if Carter was on the board, there was no way they were not going to take him.
Yeah,
right?
It felt like that was the move, and it got to that point, and when they moved, it was pretty obvious. And I know, I have said my things on Carter, and I'll keep the same energy with that. At the end of the day, I think they got a great, phenomenal player, and I think he is going to make a difference on this team, and if he can keep that stuff in the past and become, stay good on the field, high-character guy, bond with these guys that he's used to and be a part of this team, I'm fully on board because he was potentially the best player in the draft.
Yeah.
And I get that there's reasons he's dropped, whatever. But you take him at 9 after just moving up a pick. And I mean, it was the Birds guy. Like we said, for weeks, it felt like that was their guy. They always have a guy, and it felt like that was him.
Yeah, it's getting scary that we're almost picking their brain, right? Like we're kind of where they are on their board, and we don't do much but have season tickets and go down and watch a lot of college football.
That's the other
right?
thing too, and I mean that's also a good thing too with the progression that Howie and the scouts have come through, because for years, a long time, it was such a gap in like who we as fans and who we two thought would be the right piece, and they go in the complete opposite direction. But I think overall, the last 2-3 years, it's been pretty predictable when the picks come, who they're going to go with.
Pretty dead on.
So that, I mean, that's great, man. That's 100% great.
You know, and then Smith being there at 30 was just another freaking lottery pick, you know? And then, hey, you know, let's go tie it off with Kylie Ringo, you know? Let's get that kid. And then kind of segue in on that Bijan train, we ended up with DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
Another Bulldog. But the guy that was like kicking our butts game 1 last year. That dude was all over the field. I kept going like, who is this guy?
I mean, the main thing with Swift, and I think I will say, I think a lot of people are overhyping him a little bit. He's a phenomenal talent, and he is going to be 100% an upgrade for this position than he is. The main thing is kind of like Penny, him being able to stay on the field is going to be the big thing. But I get you can be a Miles guy, and I know I was kind of a Miles hater when he was around here, but you're paying Boston, Gainwell, Penny, and now Swift like 6.1, and Carolina's paying Miles like 6.5. Like you just look at it like that. I get that these guys maybe have potential to not pan out, but they have the potential to be good. Like if Swift's on the field, he's got more of a shot catching balls out of the backfield than Miles ever did. He has the same explosiveness as Miles if he can get comfortable, get healthy, and behind this O-line, anything can happen. It's mostly both those guys staying on the field.
And we talked about this before, and kind of it's been under the radar. But since they revamped that training staff and got rid of the old training staff, I mean, knock on wood, man, we have been healthy. And I don't know if these guys are doing something different with the players or what, but we have not had that rash of like 20 guys getting hurt. I mean, that 1 year it was like, who's left?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the luck of the football, but I do agree there has been a better trend with that. But yeah, I mean, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith in the first round, that was great. Tyler Snead from Bama, you knew they were going to probably take an O-lineman at some point. I like that. More depth, potentially see what happens with the one tackle position with Sayamalu gone. Sidney Brown, I kind of like him at the safety. I know it's maybe not the exact like day one starter or a guy that's going to be like a sure like guy there, but I think gives me a lot of Epps feels. I saw a lot of highlights that he's a hitter type guy.
Yeah.
See if he can develop into something. Ringo, of course, once again, I think more of just like a depth guy at corner, because at corner right now they are pretty steady, but I think having bodies at corner is always great. The quarterback, whatever, Tanner McGee. I mean, whatever. QB factory, they always do that. And then this Moro Ojamo, I don't know how to say it. The guy from Texas, which could be a high upside guy. So once again, they did their guys. They wheeled and dealed a little bit. It felt like they stuck to their board. And if they weren't really there or no one they were loving, they were moving back or they were different things. Like they really 100% feels like, I mean, we'll have to see obviously in a couple of years how this all pans out, the drafts. But I say we sit here again post-draft for the third year in a row and really go, this was a success,
good,
man.
You pretty damn good.
You addressed needs that this team had, and you took the guys that were the right picks. It's not like you addressed a need like Reagor. Oh, we need a wide receiver, and then we take Reagor instead of Justin Jefferson. You took the guys that were going to be guys that are going to be hopefully studs, or at least people around the league would agree are going to be those guys. And at the end of the day, that's all you can do. And
we got DeAndre Swift for a cheesesteak.
Yeah, like a fourth-round pick.
So, again, I mean, just unbelievable how he's been able to do and the roster he's been able to assemble. And now it's like time to just go to work.
Yeah.
And the good thing is these guys are all comfortable with each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're all like talking like, hey, we played with Nakobe and we played with Jordan, and Nakobe was the leader when he was down there. So they're going to come in, and those guys, we talked about that. We said those guys would kind of vouch for Carter.
Yeah.
And I think they did in the background and said, hey, look, if he's there, we got to take him.
Yeah.
And though Jordan and Nakobe have a year under their belt, so these guys are going to come in. They're gonna know what's to be expected. They're gonna tell them what they got to do. You know, you see Ringo and possibly Nolan Smith. They might get some special teams time to try and work into this lineup. But hey, you know, man, we got young quick,
yeah,
right?
And that's the big
we were
thing.
worried about all those losses. We were worried about Hargrave. I think we replaced Hargrave.
Yeah, I would think if you get the production that Carter is supposed to bring, you do replace Hargrave. Maybe not at the same value, but I think a good enough replacement year one that you look at something and say, all right, that fills that. Safety, you're addressing it. You went out and got Edmonds before the draft. You took a safety. You have Reed Blankenship, and you have other guys on your roster still. The only thing really I think is just like linebacker a little bit. I mean,
and there's a little rumor mill going around about Patrick Queen, man.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
there's gonna be this roster is definitely not set, but I think there's maybe one or two moves left, maybe around camp or pre-camp. But I think at the moment they're pretty steadfast with where they're at. I mean, the Swift kind of just came out of the blue. Howie even said it. They weren't even really looking at running back, and when they took Gibbs, it kind of felt like, hey, what's it gonna take to get this guy? And
it's reignited the vibes of let's get this season going, man. Let's get the schedule out. Let's see what's happening. And you know, the other thing is like teams that went to the Super Bowl aren't supposed to be reloading this fast, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing. I mean, you look at where we were maybe like a month or two ago after the draft, after the Super Bowl, beginning of free agency, saw a lot of guys leave and a lot of pieces from last year disappearing, and a couple people, some people, you can take a step back and go, oh, what's kind of going on here? And they retained the guys that you thought they needed to retain, made sure to keep some of those pieces, and they went out now and addressed those needs in the draft and taken top picks and all that.
And there was
you're back to being confident.
You know, a lot of chatter that, hey, you guys got to lock up Jalen. That's going to handcuff you to do some things. Man, that all kind of worked out.
Kind of worked out. You knew that was kind of the thing. Well, that's why I was a big proponent for a long time getting that thing done, because now Lamar, the domino effect. Jalen hit. Lamar's going to hit. I mean, Lamar did hit. Burrow's going to hit. Like, there's guys that are going to follow suit, and that's why I said right after the Super Bowl, get this thing done. I mean, everyone wants to get it done, make everyone happy, and let's move on.
And then, you know, our QB gets up there on the stage and says, hey, money's nice, but championships are better. You know, the kid just is fueled to win. This kid is going to bring us another championship. I mean, just feel it.
The culture, the mindset, the leadership on this team, like we said a lot about last year, but the culture that this team is creating with Jalen and the vets and kind of the standards around the team, and the standard is the standard or whatever Jalen says, it is proving dividends. It is showing.
The main
exactly.
thing.
These Jalenisms, these Sabanisms, the kind of like media droned, they prove dividends. People embrace that. Saucy leading the way.
Yeah,
it is a meshing thing that is happening around.
I mean, we give Howie a lot of credit, but you got to look at Lurie too and step back and say, you know, when they go out and they look for a head coach, they kind of find it.
They usually figure it out.
And you know, it's just, man, I cannot wait for the season to start. At least get the schedule out so we know what's what. But, man, this team just, God, I can't believe it. I can't believe what we did this past weekend.
Yeah,
to bolster this roster.
100%. It definitely does get you geared up to get back into football season. I know a lot of people are still hurting, lingering, fresh wounds still from the Super Bowl. And, yeah, it is what it is. And it still is fresh and still not fun. But they really are giving you all the hope that they're going to run this thing back and try and do it again this year and just win one more game. But, I mean, they're doing what they're needing to do, and it's great to see. Got confidence in the team and who's leading it. But another success, people. Another success as we're ramping this thing up. Yeah. But it's exciting. We'll get ready for things, camp start, and people are back in the building. So we'll see how everything progresses as we get closer to the season. But I mean, that's about it for today.
That's it, baby.
Thank you guys always for watching. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at birds_squawk. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Go, bird.